Hello and welcome back to the Future Print virtual conference. We're about to have a really exciting session take place, and we're going to be talking broadly about kind of industry trends. So just some introductions first. I'm Karis Kopp. I'm joined by Keypoint Intelligence's Colin McMahon, Senior Analyst, who lives and breathes future technologies. Is that right, Colin?
That's right. Hello. Hello, everyone.
Hi, and their impacts, and Ryan Maccabee, who is Keypoint's Director of Production Workflow, promoting automation, connectivity, and smart print manufacturing. Hi, Ryan.
That's a mouthful. Hello, everybody.
And I'm sure you're all familiar with the work that Keypoint does in the digital print space, conducting research, consulting, product testing, and now also providing technology platforms. So thank you both for joining us from across the pond.
Of course, happy to be here.
And we're also really lucky to have Christian Weyer, Managing Director of Technology at Zaikio. For some background on Christian, he has a degree in medicine, but instead decided to switch paths and dedicate his time to finding solutions to complex problems. And now that's what he does with Zaikio, developing simple solutions for complex problems. And Zaikio, for those that don't know, I love the tagline as you visit Zaikio.com. We democratize the printing industry, which is a wonderful, much needed philosophy. And in a nutshell, Zaikio brings printers, customers, brand owners, suppliers, software and equipment manufacturers together on a modern and open platform so that everyone can communicate and exchange data on a level playing field. But I will let Christian provide more context on the work that Zaikio does a little later on. But we're delighted to have Zaikio as a Future Print partner and conference speaker. So thanks so much for joining us, Christian.
Thank you for having me, and hello everyone from Central Europe.
And last but certainly not least, another Future Print partner I'm sure you're all familiar with, Dorinda Gibbons, who is Director and owner of Profile Recruitment, which is a specialist recruitment company in the field of digital inkjet. So, you know, a really great resource when we're looking at trends. You know, she's got the insight from a recruitment perspective, and we're really, really happy to have you with us. Hi, Dorinda.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you.
So we're doing things a little bit differently. We're going to kind of flow into the different areas that we're touching on today. I think we're going to start with Colin, who's going to talk about gamification and that as a trend in print and packaging and beyond. And I think if I pass over to you, Dorinda, who's going to be a co-host today, and maybe we can kind of go through some of the points that I know Colin wants to make. So if I hand over to you.
Thank you, Karis. Thanks for the introduction. So yeah, just to further on, I'm very passionate about bringing new people into the industry and sort of looking at combining the existing talent, the existing people we've got in the industry, and getting new people in as well. So it's great to hear all these new ideas as well, and looking at the likes of Heidelberg, you know, that's a very well-known name, but coupled with up-and-coming companies like Zaikio. So it's really exciting times for the industry, and I think we can all work together to make sure that we carry on and succeed as well. So quite excited to talk to Colin today about something different for me as well, which is it isn't new, but it is new, and we're going to be talking about gamification. So perhaps, Colin, you can start the ball rolling and sort of explain what that is, if that's okay with you.
Of course, I'm happy to take it away. Let me just share my screen and we'll get right into it. So that is coming up and should be coming up. Please let me know when you can see it. Are we good? All right, we're good to go. So let's talk gamification in packaging, print, and beyond. So as you point out, this is new to a lot of people, even though gamification itself has existed for quite some time. So we'll talk about, first let's answer what it is, and then we'll talk about why it's coming back. So what is gamification? They always say the best definition doesn't include the word in it. You're not going to find that here. So gamification is the application of game design elements to a non-gaming experience. What does that mean? To put it in the simplest terms, whenever a parent gets a package or something that comes in a big cardboard box, and that cardboard box was built to hold like an oven or a refrigerator, whatever. But to a child, that becomes a time machine, or it becomes a rocket ship, or it becomes a transmogrifier. That is gamification. They have taken this cardboard box that was not built for gameplay and added game elements to it. And now this technique, and in doing so, that cardboard box, which normally was going to be tossed in the trash, thrown out and recycled, that's kept around. That becomes a prized possession. So this technique applied elsewhere can be used to drive user engagement. It's the same exact principle. And it's been done very effectively both internally for companies that want to train people, educate, keep their workforce engaged, and as a marketing strategy externally. So people who want to engage their customers, engage their clients. And it's utilizing the value of fun, which in business is kind of talked down to like, that's fun, that's hobbies. But fun is really valuable. It's the thing that we do when we do it without being paid. We do it without being told to, if we can get that and align that more closely with work or with selling or just within the professional world, that's a really powerful motivation. And print has been doing it for decades. One of the most famous examples is the partnership between McDonald's and Hasbro that brings their Monopoly game to their, I want to say it's a Happy Meal, but it's all of their meals. It's whenever you get like a large fry or a large Coke, it comes with a little game piece, you try to match it up. That's gamification. If you've ever played a word search or anything, any sort of game on the back of a cereal box, that's gamification. And it always existed in the background, but the reason that everyone is paying such attention to it now is that with the outbreak of COVID-19 last year, the way we shopped and the way we interacted with the world changed. It changed very drastically, very quickly. We'd already been seeing a movement toward e-commerce, a movement towards product delivery to the home, which was increasing the packaging market, driving up profits and revenues. That went into overdrive in 2020 because suddenly everyone was home and shopping was done online pretty much exclusively. So suddenly there was a massive influx of cardboard, a massive influx of corrugated, and people have all of these boxes now that they're getting sent to their homes day in, day out. And so brands are naturally looking to differentiate. If you're getting just a sea of cardboard boxes that are all interchangeable, yeah, it's nice to put like an Amazon logo on one, but what else can you do to just help get the consumer excited when that package shows up, get them interacting? And if the product can be the product, why not the package of that product also being part of the experience? It really is starting to think about things collectively and cohesively.
No, it's fantastic. And I think we all need some fun in our lives at the moment. We're all stuck at home, aren't we? So I think if we can use this almost wasted material otherwise. I mean, I've got currently full of cardboard ready to go the skip. What a waste. If we can use it, if companies can use this to engage and to let us all have fun, then they're really onto a winner. So you've mentioned some of the successes that companies have had. Is there any other sort of examples, or what would you say is the future now for gamification?
Well, to talk a little bit more about the value, I know I used a lot of children's examples, but it's important that it's not just kids who play games. Gamers are, it's a term I don't like. What is a gamer? A gamer is pretty much everyone these days. We've gone past the days of it being segregated to, it's like, oh, if you buy, a Nintendo console or an Atari, or you have a specialized computer, then, that's how you game. But now, everyone walks around with one of these. It's a smartphone, which on top of everything else plays games. And most everyone plays at least some sort of game, whether you're playing Bejeweled, Sudoku, crosswords, chess, EVE Online, whatever you play. It all counts. So just the idea that gamers are everywhere and people want, as you said, like, it's not just the movement toward or the surplus of cardboard. People are stressed out. They want to connect. They want to relax. They want to have fun. It doesn't matter what age you are. If you watch the news, you want to escape. So what is the value? Why do this? The statistics I provide there and show that's much more on the internal side, which is a conversation all in of itself, and I don't think we should get into today, but it is valuable to know that if you can make working fun, it's what all managers want to do. They want to make working fun. If you can do that, you're going to have tremendous success with enhanced employee engagement. But let's talk about the external. Let's talk about marketing. So companies across the board have been using stuff like Ford Motors has redesigned their Facebook and their entire social media outreach to be more gamified. And they measured this initiative, they measured this experiment, and they found that their engagement, at least on the social media platform Facebook, rose by about 600%. Likewise, Verizon Wireless redesigned their website, particularly through their login information, that way they could better track people. But they also wanted to gamify it, so they wanted to be like, oh, if you log in and you get an incentive, a thing to do, that will keep you on the website. They'll keep you not just there to look at phones or internet plans, but that'll keep you there, keep you browsing. And they found that browsing time increased by 30%, the average browsing session. And to go back to that McDonald's Hasbro partnership that I mentioned before, the deputy labor minister, I think, his name's Tom Watkins. In 2019, he said he called it like a gross practice, and he called it too addictive for its own good. You know, people were playing so much that he's like, this McDonald's Hasbro monopoly partnership is a threat to public health. Which might shed some light on the dark side of gamification. Again, it's something else to get into another time about if you make something addictive, is there a line to cross? Is there a limit? And the answer is always, obviously, of course, but it just shows the effectiveness. You know, this partnership has been running since 1983 and really has never stopped being effective. Nobody's got tired of playing, so they keep doing it. They keep bringing it out. So that's to speak to the value of it.
It's so clever, isn't it, when you think about it? And it's great to see the figures and the longevity of it. Because I think sometimes we're aware of these things, like you say, that are going on in the background, but we've not really thought about it enough. But I mean, how can we use this more in packaging? And who are we targeting? Are we targeting? Because a lot of people, the increase in pets has massively risen, hasn't it? With people, the price of dogs have gone up threefold, hasn't it? You know, how can we use this more, do you think?
Well, and to talk about how we use it, we have to talk about where it's going first. So I guess the short answer is it's going everywhere. And there's some enormous applications, which I've already touched upon, happening in education and training. I don't know if you've seen, and this, I guess, also talks about the fact that we have things like augmented reality now starting to come in. And with the 5G rollout, we're going to be able to start doing a lot more than just having dancing graphics for, you hold up your phone, you jump through 3 hoops and you're rewarded with like a dancing dog or something at the end. Yay. It's not very engaging. It is cool. It's a cool sign of what's to come, but it's mostly just that, a sign. So with the rollout of 5G, with the use of AR, gamification is going to be able to be done a lot more interestingly, and it will no longer be bound to just games on the back of a cardboard box. So I guess to talk a little bit about trends that we see and what's developing, you look at something like Pokemon Go. It wasn't the Pokemon brand name, and that sounds crazy to say, that made this like a phenomenon that's made billions. It was the fact that this was an experience that successfully gamified walking and walking together with friends. We've seen since it came out tons of other big IPs like Harry Potter, Minecraft, Garfield. All of these worldwide names have tried to mimic their success, and it's all failed because they haven't done the gameplay well enough. They put the brand first. So I think that's maybe a cautionary tale, and we'll talk more about the importance of game design in a little bit. Another great example I want to look at, and you can see I actually have a Switch in my background, is Nintendo Labo, so they originally were going to do this with plastic, but the environmental impact and just they knew that people didn't want a lot of plastic clutter in their house, so they redid it with cardboard, knowing that kids love to build things. So that is actually a fully functional piano. You can't see inside, but it's all like rubber bands and elastics. It's incredible, and it hooks up to a Nintendo Switch console, and doing that allows the person to actually play the piano as if they had spent a small version, as if they'd spent thousands of dollars on the real thing. So companies like that are really looking at the value of like, oh, if people have all this cardboard, then really they have all of this material, and we can use this material in a lot of creative ways that just wasn't possible without the unification with new technologies like smartphones, like Switches, like even my wearable watch, which also gamifies walking by telling me, how I'm doing next to my friends, how did I earn this badge for walking this much. It's all just motivation. It's all behavioral psychology. But to answer your other question of who should this target, it depends. This is not like AR, like VR, like so much new or so much that's coming in and coming in strong now. There is a tendency to say everything is the holy grail. That this is, this is going to change the industry no matter what. But it all is how much it works and how well it's done. Like all good games and marketing strategies, gamification has a set audience in mind. Now, you can have games with broader appeal. Again, McDonald's, Hasbro, that Monopoly partnership. Everyone knows Monopoly. Everyone grew up playing Monopoly. Monopoly, by the way, I will just say as a quick segue, was started as a gamified lesson on capitalism. That is the invention of, it was created by a school teacher. That's the invention of the game. And then, of course, it got rebranded to be more profitable. But it's a very broad game. Now, if McDonald's had done that partnership with, say, Settlers of Catan or Dungeons and Dragons, they would have greatly reduced their player base because not everyone knows what those games are or the rules or how to play, and not everyone's interested in learning. It's just kind of a trade-off. So when companies design gamification strategies, they've got to have their core audience in mind and know who they're trying to reach out to. Classic game design concepts are it should be easy. It should be intuitive, you've got to be able to figure it out fast, and you got to be having fun at the end of the day. Otherwise, no one's going to want to play your game. As stated before, we have smartphones, we have video game consoles, we have board games. There's a lot of competition when it comes to gameplay. And you also want to try to be creative and align with your product. Now, packaging is perfect because we talked about in the beginning, it's always had a very natural inclination toward imagination, toward creativity, towards external utilization for concepts that it wasn't initially created for. So I actually think that the packaging industry is in prime shape there. They don't have as tough a road as other industries do to kind of branch their products over. But I will say, if you're going to be serious about gamification, you have to understand that it is game design at the end of the day. You can't just slap, a lot of gamification experts warn about points, badges, and leaderboards. If you've ever played a smartphone game, I guarantee you've seen at least one of them. You get points, you get a badge. If you get enough points, you show up on a leaderboard. And the argument was that, well, every successful game does this in some form, at least the social games online. And that was true, but so do the thousands of games that don't succeed. It's not a good benchmark for success. There you see a picture of the Octalysis framework, which is one gamification design matrix to kind of help, and we won't get into it because it'll take far too long to explain, but I do encourage people to reach out and do further research. But it talks about that balance of making something challenging, not frustrating, of designing a reward system that feels good to earn, but it doesn't feel like you're just being coddled to, that you're being doled out just because people are smart. They know when, if gaming is manipulation and if fun is manipulation to keep you playing, people will spot it. They may not be able to put words to it, but they will know that it's why did I stop playing that? Or why did I stop engaging with that? It just wasn't holding my interest anymore, or it didn't feel right. Gamification is easy to get into, but it's difficult to master, and we're really excited to see how all of these companies will keep using it. Because I think it's just, you're going to see rapid adoption rates within the next few years.
Thank you, Con. That's brilliant. And it is, I suppose it's just striking that balance, isn't it? Because like you say, you want it to be easy and fun, so you want it to be a bit challenged, but you don't want it to be too complicated. So it is striking a balance, isn't it? And I think people should reach out and perhaps look at that. Hopefully people can have access to this after Caris and maybe have a look in more detail about that. But it is absolutely fascinating. I think people can really dip into this and help them further. I mean, is there anything else you want to add at all, colleagues? That's been really brilliant. Thank you.
No, I think it's, as I say, I don't want to get too into the weeds today. I know we have other topics to get to, but I just want people to, the biggest challenge, I think, in facing the print industry regarding gamification will not be the challenge of designing engaging experiences, but it will be, I guess, the opening of the mind to that this is a new way to go. Because in the past, games were child's play. You kept it relegated. It was separate. It's its own thing. But we live in a world where technology is consolidating industries. It's blurring lines. And we live in a world now where several generations have been raised playing games. Games have become more prolific. We've seen just to point to it, the board game industry, not to be left behind, has exploded in terms of variety and just sheer numbers. Because yeah, people have grown up playing games. They want to keep playing even as they get old, even as they have families of their own. So it is recognizing that this is not a distraction. This is engagement. This is just behavioral psychology being used to motivate your users to engage, whether it's your customer, your employees, whoever it is. Games are a very powerful tool.
Yeah, definitely. And they're such good fun, aren't they? And I Monopoly was banned in our house when we were growing up because there were so many arguments, but we all were obviously engaged in it in whatever form. So yeah, let's hope we can keep using this. And thank you so much, Colin, because it's an absolutely fascinating subject and I've loved hearing about it. So thank you.
Of course, happy to share.
Are we passing over to yourself, Caris?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Colin. That's so interesting. It makes, when you really think about it and you think about the interactions in your everyday life that might be kind of a form of gamification that you haven't even realized. And then you think, hang on a minute, I engage with that because, there's some small reward, we all do it all the time. So it's definitely worth looking into more and thinking about. So thank you so much. That was the trend of gamification, and we're going to move on to another trend from Ryan, looking at ecosystems and platforms and the impact they have. And on the subject of kind of platforms and ecosystem, it's going to lead us really nicely into Christian talking about Zaikio. So if I hand over to you firstly, Ryan.
Excellent. Thank you. So, I just want to, Colin did a good job of kind of walking us through a trend that affects mainly the packaging part of the printing industry. And now I kind of want to lead us into something that we feel will impact the greater print world, as it were, or maybe you even want to refer to it as an ecosystem. So probably the best place to start is what exactly is an ecosystem? And it's really a network of things, so entities, people, players, however you want to define that often cooperate to get things done, but also may, in certain cases, be in competition with each other. But here's the key. It's the fact that as a whole, they create greater value than they could if they were just individual parts. And there's also another kind of key element to ecosystems is that you can't just have an entity of one become an ecosystem. So I can't be an ecosystem alone. Key Point Intelligence can't be an ecosystem alone, so on and so forth. So it really is the term that you need a lot of participants within the ecosystem, and it's really relating to this technology term that's called the network effect. And we all know this kind of network effect because think about how boring Facebook or TikTok or any of those would be if it was just you as the end user. So you have to have a lot more people involved when it comes to an ecosystem. Now, that's all fun and games, but what does that really mean in terms of the print world? So here we see kind of the print ecosystem laid out. We have the demand side on the left and then the supply side on the right. So up in the top blue quadrant there, we see the people that actually need print. It's the print buyers, it's the ad agents, it's the designers, it's the big companies and enterprises, the brands, all of those type of folks. We also, from a demand perspective, see that just from creating awareness of the industry, our capabilities and so forth, that's where trade publications, association, things like Future Print, which you're watching now, and so forth come into play. And then on that right-hand side, in that kind of light blue quadrant, we have the suppliers to the industry, which are really the gears to the machine, if you will. And it's really the equipment manufacturers, it's the suppliers, the consumables vendors, the ink and paper, that kind of thing, along with the software that makes everything work together, and software integrators and so forth, and logistics companies and everything. It's basically the engine that powers it. And then up in the top right, obviously, is a critical component, and that's really the print service providers themselves, or the printers. And they can take all kinds of shapes and forms. Some, for instance, only do online printing, so they only take orders through the web. Others are focused only just for providing print for one particular company or enterprise, and we call those typically implant printers. Or it could be like what Colin was talking about earlier. Maybe they only focus on packaging. So all of these kind of different takes on it. Here's the key thing to think about, though, and you can kind of visualize it here as we've laid it out. Anytime you have to do business or communicate with one entity in one of those other places, it becomes difficult. There's friction to it. So if you think about it from a print service provider's point of view, what happens is I may be working with a print buyer, and let's say that is a global brand. They might be ordering and placing and doing business with me through a procurement system. Or I might be working with someone that actually walks into my retail shop to order print, which is a completely different way of taking the order in. Lastly, I might have some other businesses that I've stood up on kind of a web to print or a storefront type approach where they can place orders online. So every time we add someone and need to do business with another entity in the ecosystem, it creates complexity. And that's really stifling the amount of automation that we can have as an industry. Because typically the way to automate those things, it takes time and it costs money to actually do those integration points and figure out how to seamlessly work amongst each other and get that automation put in. The other kind of fact and reality that's changed for printers themselves is that it's become even more challenging to operate their businesses internally, which is another reason that we need automation and really how to glue this whole ecosystem together real efficiently. And it's changed because they're producing more work across more diverse types of print applications and more types of printing technology. And they've also increased the number of orders that they've had to actually manage and deal with. Matter of fact, in our research from 2018 to 2019 in the European market, we found that there was a 30% uptake or increase basically in the number of orders that they were having to manage and deal with. So that's why we kind of need to think about how to solve this problem of working together within the print ecosystem. And we think that's really going to evolve by the use of technology platforms and probably even a platform approach. But what is a platform? It's kind of a technology enabler for the ecosystem to really work. It's the grease of the wheel. It's the glue that combines and connects everything together. But it really has a defined set of rules, and then other participants can participate on that platform as well to basically build another solution or augment it or increase the value of it. And just like those ecosystems, it requires that network effect. So we have to have multiple participants in there. Now, I know that's kind of like high level, but let's take it to more reality again. We all know platforms from our consumer lives. So we have like Airbnb that connects homeowners with renters. Facebook, which we all pretty much know, connects advertisers with consumers. Now, in our print world, we first saw back in 2016 a platform that eventually came to be a platform as we define it a couple of years later, which is HP's Print OS. And we also have other platforms in the printing industry like Gelato and Cloud Printer, which basically act as global connectors of print buyers and print producers. And then most recently, we also have a company called Zaikio that's trying to connect the entire print ecosystem together here. And to give us a great example of how they're doing it and going about it, I'd like to introduce Christian again back into the conversation. And he's going to let us know how they're trying to connect the print ecosystem together.
Thank you very much, Ryan. You basically already said half of the interesting parts, and I'll just try to underline this with a real-world example. So I'm Christian. I'm the Managing Director Technology, and as such also a little bit responsible for the product design at Zaikio. We are a young company in one sense. We've been acquired by Heidelberg in 2019, and since then are operating under the name Zaikio and building a global platform for the print ecosystem. Before that, we were known as Crispy Mountain, and we created an MIS. We started with that 5 years ago. So from my perspective, that was a long time ago. From the perspective of the print industry, we are rather the new kids on the block. And during the creation of this MIS back in the day, we realized that there are some problems in terms of connectivity in the print industry that we would like to solve. And Zaikio is our approach to do that. So as Ryan already showed you, if we look at a print shop these days, which is in white here in the middle, that is you. You have to deal with a lot of different people and a lot of different systems that have been sprung up around you. From a designer to the print buyer to web to print software. Maybe you even run custom software. You have machines you want to connect. You have an MIS or ERP solution. You have outsourcing partners, and of course you have suppliers, right? Because you need paper, you need plates, you need ink, you need a lot of stuff in order to manufacture the products. And this communication has been increasing dramatically because the number of jobs has been luckily increasing dramatically. The sizes of the jobs have shrunk a bit, but the number has increased. And all of this communication, be it computerized or human, be it email or fax or phone or whatnot, it all takes a lot of time. Right? These communication paths are rather slow. And as we all know, time is money. So we thought about how can we optimize this without completely changing the way you work today? How can we give you the benefits of digitization while trying to keep you as much as possible in your comfort zone? Of course, you have to leave the comfort zone a little bit, but how can we connect these two worlds, right? How can we connect the traditional approach and a traditional process to print with the benefits of a digital process? And in order to do so, we have created an open and independent platform. As I already said, we are working together with Heidelberg, but we are also working together with other leading players in the print industry to once and for all save this problem of connectivity. And in order to do that, we created the Zaikio platform, and the Zaikio platform has several core services that target different areas of communication. So the first area that we target is app subscriptions. Now, today you are running software on premise. Some software you have bought for a lot of money. Other software is subscribed monthly or yearly. Some software comes for free with a machine that you bought. There's lots of different software, right? And what we at Zaikio try is to provide all the software vendors with a system that they can use to globally, so this is a worldwide approach, to globally do their subscription for their applications, right? Their entire billing, their entire invoicing, and so on. For you as the printer, that means the more applications join our platform, and if you join our platform as well, you can basically run all your software license management through us. We have a centralized billing approach. You will always be ahead of the costs, because this is something that we heard back in the day as an MIS provider a lot, that printers really fear that the software costs are spiraling out of control, especially usage-based costs. So Zaikio provides a way to manage all of that in a centralized way. What we also try to accomplish is, and this has been really, really surprising for us as the millennials that we are, when we entered the print industry and created Keyline, we created it with open APIs so that Keyline can exchange data with other systems, with other MIS, with Web2Print, with machines, and so on. We quickly found out, though, that connection was not as easy as we thought. And traditionally in the print industry, this connection is always made on the printer level, right? So you as the printer, you have to kick off a project, you have to pour in resources, time, money, project management to get software vendor A to talk to software vendor B or to machine vendor C. For us, that was always a little bit strange, because we would have assumed that the connectivity is solved on a higher level, right? That the software vendors are talking directly to each other, basically making sure that their softwares A and B are talking to each other, and you as the printer, you just buy A and you just buy B, and then the whole thing works. That is not the case, as I think all of us know. And I think this situation is rather unpleasant for the printers, but it's also unpleasant for the machine manufacturers and also for the software vendors, because they don't like those integration projects too, right? I have not talked to a single person who actually likes integration projects. So what we are trying here is we have created a new product, which is not JDF based. It's a completely new approach based on modern web technologies, where basically the product is called Mission Control, by the way. So the printer gets a workspace inside Mission Control where different applications upload their data, right? Production data from the MIS, calculation data from the MIS, order information from a Web2Print system. And then we, for example, connect systems like Prenect or other production systems on the far end in order to go down into production. And the only thing that you as a printer have to take care of, you have to buy software that is Zaikio Mission Control enabled. That's it. Everything else will be managed one level above. We are the ones who bring the software vendors together, we bring the hardware vendors together, and we make sure that their systems can exchange the data through Mission Control seamlessly and in a plug-and-play fashion. And actually procurement, which is the third pillar of our service offering, is exactly the same, only this thing is about you and the connection to your suppliers. So every single day you buy paper, you buy ink, you buy plates, you buy a lot of stuff. And the Zaikio Procurement service tries to be a platform where on the one hand your MIS can connect, and on the other hand all the suppliers are connected. So at the end of the day, you are able directly from your MIS or ERP solution to browse your entire procurement article base and order things and have live pricing information and so on. And the final piece is a shop floor and IoT component, which also does the same thing than all the others. It's all about connectivity. This component is also connecting machinery to us so that we can connect that machine to other software systems or even to procurement providers and so on. And today I want to show you and actually talk a little bit more about procurement because this will be released on March 15th in Central Europe. And it will be released later this year in the UK and the US. And we believe that this is the most tangible use case of the platform. Everything else is like data exchange, which is rather a bit abstract. But procurement, I mean, you order stuff, you want it delivered on time, and you want to know the price, right? It's pretty simple. So what's the problem with procurement today? This is you again, and you have lots of suppliers, right? And with some of the suppliers, you order via email, and with other suppliers, you order by phone. And with some of the suppliers, you get their article catalog into your MIS via a CSV file or something like that. And sometimes you might even update pricing information. But at least that's what we heard from the printers that we've been talking to, and our experience with our own product Keyline. It is really cumbersome, and it's really, really difficult to keep all the information up to date. So what we want to do is, with Zaikio Procurement, we created a system that connects suppliers through the Zaikio's procurement service directly to you inside your MIS, right? So what you have to do to participate is create a Zaikio account, connect your existing MIS to Zaikio, then you can connect suppliers with a single click, and then you can use your MIS as usual. This is what I meant in the beginning when I said we don't want to drag you out of your comfort zone. You don't have to learn a new MIS. We are a MIS vendor from back in the day with Keyline, but this is open to all MIS providers. We have already 10 MIS partners in Central Europe. We are also talking to MIS providers in the UK, of course, to get them on board, and in the US as well. So this approach, you will find it as a connectivity tool in most MISs that are out there. And what we can do for you is, when you are connected to the Zaikio Procurement platform, your MIS will always have price and availability information for all of your items. You do not need to import these, let's call them very cumbersome CSV files anymore, right? And you can browse the entire offering at once inside your MIS. You do not have to maintain an article database whatsoever, right? And these are the things that we improve that are already there with CSV exports and imports and things like that. But we believe that we dramatically improve that by getting rid of the entire administration part. And then there are some things that we add that you can't do right now. And one of that is instant electronic ordering and confirmation with live tracking of the deliveries. So you actually know where your stuff is. The Zaikio Procurement platform also provides a central repository for all of your invoices. So again, not changing too much. The contractual relationship between you and your supplier still remains, right? We are not collecting the money or anything like that. All of that remains exactly as it is today. We're just facilitating the orders electronically and making sure that all the data is moving from A to B and back from B to A, more or less automatically without you having to take care of it. So the suppliers provide us with your invoice, and then we can forward that invoice information into your MIS. So your post calculation is much easier than it was before. And we are even looking at features right now, which we call advanced paper information. So we get paper calibration curves for a certain charge of papers that we can then feed to the machinery, which, for example, eases the color calibration process. And this is something that we're working with suppliers right now. And I think those are use cases that are simply not possible with importing and exporting CSV files, right? In order to do things like that, you really need to be connected. And I stress the fact quite much that all of this is available directly from inside your MIS and ERP. And I'm sure that you're now going to tell me that basically every single software manufacturer promises something like this since Drupa 2000. And I would agree. So I say seeing is believing. And let me switch over to a demo. All right, got to reshare the screen. What you see now is our product Keyline, and I'm logged in as a calculator or customer support person. This is only an example, right? So as I said earlier, the Zaikio Procurement platform works with a lot of MISs. Since we are the creators of Keyline, it kind of makes sense that we demonstrated using Keyline because we know this software best, but the experience in the other MIS will be as seamless as it is in Keyline. What I have opened here is a standard calculation for, we are still an offset printer, 100,000 flyers, procurement connection for professionals, right? And somebody wants to plaster the entire world with these things, so they ordered 100,000 of them. I haven't selected a paper yet for the production run, and if I try to do this, I won't find much because I have not connected anything and I don't have a local article database in any shape or form. So what I want to do, I don't want to maintain an article database, so I just want to connect this Keyline account to a Zaikio account, and through that receive all the papers that I can order at Sappi, which is an example supplier that we will show here today, and then get all the price information, all the paper information live into my system. So what I have to do, and we are starting really from scratch here, this is the Keyline settings area, which has its general settings for Zaikio section. Now, if I click on that, Keyline will tell me that I'm not connected to Zaikio as of now. Okay, that's too bad, but let's just create the connection. I'll accept the terms of service. Of course, if you do that in real life, please read the terms of service before accepting. And I'll just say, okay, let's hook me up. The system will ask me, do you want to sign up for a new account or do you want to log in with Zaikio? Since I already have an account, I'll just log in quickly. Let's see if that still works. So future reference, what kind of products I make. And well, I'm just, besides labels in large format, I do pretty much everything. And let me create that organization. And then, because privacy is very important to us, the system will ask if I am willing to share the following information about my organization with the Keyline MIS. And since I initiated the connection, I'll of course say yes, because that's exactly what I want. Now, I'll be taken back to Keyline. I can already see, okay, this Keyline is now connected to the Zaikio platform as the organization Frank's Print Shop. And actually 3 of my users already have Zaikio accounts. So great, they can now log in into Keyline using their Zaikio credentials, right? They don't need to remember 50 different credentials anymore. All software systems that are connected to Zaikio are allowed to use the Zaikio single sign-on, so you can directly log into them with your Zaikio credentials. But that's not why we're here for. We are here for Zaikio Procurement, so let's move one step further. Now the procurement system is telling me, everything is set up, you have a Zaikio account, welcome on board, but you need to actually activate procurement before we can start. And by the way, this is free of charge for printers, right? Our business model revolves around generating a lot of efficiency, not only at the printer, but also at the supplier. So the supplier is gonna come up for the cost of this procurement platform. For the printer, this is free of charge, right? So I just say, okay, activate procurement. Then the system is asking again if I'm now willing to share information, if it is okay that Keyline can browse my catalog, can place and manage orders, can see my contracts with suppliers, and I just say, yeah, of course. And as you can see here, I now have an overview of all the suppliers that are available for the country that my organization is based in. Now, we said we want to connect to Sappi and want to retrieve all the papers and prices from Sappi, so let's just request that connection. In order to do so, I can provide a customer number, and I have to provide a phone number if Sappi has any questions. And if I hit request connection, what ordinarily will happen now is that Sappi takes 1 or 2 hours, figures out internally who you are, matches your internal pricing agreements to the Zaikio system so that you get your prices and not some kind of general prices, and then activates the account. Since we are, for the sake of this demo, operating in our test system, Sappi will immediately connect the account for us and just pretending that they know us. Now it says connected. If I switch back to my original calculation, and if I go into the production mode and try to select the paper, I can now just search for the paper and boom, here they are. these are all the Magna Natural papers that I can receive from SAPI, and I also have all the pricing informations for those papers, right? So I just say I want this grammage, and you know what? Make sure it is PEFC 100%, and now the list shrinks down, and you know what? This seems like a great format. Let's use this paper. Now the calculation runs in the background. And if we switch over here to the prices page, as we can see, the material has been selected, and in the background, a price has already been calculated for this specific paper. So we have live pricing information and we have live availability information. I did not import any CSV file. I did not import any price information. It is just there. If I greenlight this, Keyline will automatically create a material order, such as this one, where we ordered a paper earlier today. And it will be transmitted digitally to SAPI, of course, and it will also be confirmed by SAPI. And as soon as the truck is leaving SAPI's factory, then this will be updated automatically, and we can see when the paper will arrive. And all of this happened because I just signed up for the Zaikio Procurement. I activated the procurement platform, connected to SAPI. That's it. And it's as easy as that with all the other suppliers. And by the way, paper suppliers, of course, is only what we want to start with. There are hundreds of other suppliers already talking to us regarding inks and plates and other stuff. So we will greatly increase the portfolio that we can offer. And at the end of the day, the goal is that we can offer basically all the procurement needs of a modern print shop inside the platform. All right, so much for the demo. Let me switch back to my presentation. As I said, we are already working with numerous partners in the MIA space. In the MIS space, we are working with numerous paper suppliers. We are working with paper merchants, and the number will only increase. Zaikio Procurement will be available in March for Central Europe, so March 15th is when we start. And it will be coming to the UK and the US later in 2021. And if you already want to know more about the facts of the platform, I encourage you to just visit our website, which is www.zaikio.com/procurement. There's also information about all the other products that we have, but procurement is the first one that we use to go live. And I hope that with this product, we can really make it easier for printers to fulfill their procurement needs, so that your customer consultants actually can do what they are named after, consult customers, instead of talking to SAPI all the time in order to figure out what's the cheapest price for a given paper. All right, that's it from my end.
That's fantastic, Christian. Thank you so much for that. And I think that the only question is, why wouldn't someone want to use this system? You know, there's no reason not to, is there? And if you can bring everything together more succinctly, then it's going to make a massive, massive difference. So I'll open it up to the panel. Does anyone have any specific questions they want to ask at all?
Yeah, I have a comment and then a question. My comment is, for those of you who have seen the demonstration, you think, well, what's the big deal there? I can tell you from having lived a life in as someone who installed print management systems in the past and worked with the customers directly, that's probably the one thing that takes continuously the most amount of time and creates the most amount of frustration, is just getting your paper catalog and material catalog set correctly with the correct pricing, so that you can then do your purchase orders and so forth. So it seems quite simple, but it's quite effective if you can automate it. So that's the comment. The question, though, Christian, is, you know, print shops are generally a pretty skeptic bunch, right? They like to see things before they can believe it and so forth. And obviously you showed it to us there, but they also are kind of reluctant maybe to be the first adopters of new technology, because they're not quite sure if it's going to stick around and stay around. And I'm wondering, just how is Zaikio planning to be serving the industry for years to come at this point?
Yeah, so first off, maybe also from our numbers, the setup of materials in Keyline for a new customer usually takes a couple of days, right? And I have similar experiences that are coming in from the people that sell the Heidelberg Business Manager and configure that. They exactly have the same problem, and I think that goes for every single MIS, right? So the consulting amount is huge. Plus, you set up the catalog once, and like 3 seconds later, it's already outdated, and you could start the entire process anew. We will be around for a long time because of two reasons, in my opinion. First, it will be a road, right? So the journey is the goal, right? We are not gonna connect the entire industry on day one. Heidelberg is our backer. As the small crispy mountain, we could have never done this, right? This is the reason why we teamed up with a big player in the market like Heidelberg. And Heidelberg has realized that the digital is the future, and not digital in terms of presses in this case, but digital in terms of process. Because Heidelberg has a big problem. The presses are super efficient these days. And actually what hinders the presses to run at maximum capacity is the processes surrounding the print, right? It's not the manufacturing process anymore. We figured those out years ago. And by we, I mean the entire industry. It's the processes like procurement, invoicing, generation of quotes, and so on. Those really lag behind the times, and those need to be fixed. And for Heidelberg, this is an essential part of their strategy for not only the near future, but for the next 10, 15 years, for the future of the entire company. So this is why I'm pretty confident that we will still be around. And also, we are not releasing this completely untested into the wild. So we are already working together with 10 companies here in Germany. Our biggest customer, which is a rather large book printer, will also be joining us next month in testing the system. So it's already battle-proven. Plus, it contains all the knowledge that we have gained in being an MIS provider for 5 years, right? So we knew what a grammage was going in. We also know that the US is not doing grammage, but other units. We know how fragmented the paper market can be, and the MIS market as well. So I think we are very well prepared to answer those questions and find solutions for that. And I think what really makes me believe in this idea is that you should never employ technology to solve a anticipated need that isn't actually there. And being an MIS provider for 5 years, I can tell you there is a need for this, a huge one. And we solve it, and I think we solve it in a way that can solve this problem forever, right? It doesn't have to be solved again, and printers will really gain efficiency through it. And I believe that this will make this very viable commercially and technologically.
Excellent. So I'd be curious also, Christian, you have the 10 sites, obviously they're actively using it now. Without going to specifics, can you kind of give us a little bit of color around, how long it took them to get started and what kind of benefits they really realized initially? Yeah, sure.
So, I mean, we're already on a very, very great learning curve. So getting the first ones onboarded, including the review process at the supplier and so on, took like a week. And I think the last one took like 3 hours. We now have a new supplier, which I can announce already, is Meta Paper in Germany. They don't even have a vetting process anymore. So you instantly connect, just as I showed in the demo with SAPI, but with them, it's even like that in the real world. So they will do a background check on the first order, right? So your first order maybe needs an hour to be confirmed instead of 10 seconds, and that's it. And I hope that more and more providers will do it like that. So we already learned a lot. And actually the number one complaint that we have received from our test customers so far is, why isn't the other stuff on the platform, right? Now I can order all the paper. I also want to order the plates, right? Where's that? And of course, we are working on that to make sure that all the different materials can be ordered through Zaikio Procurement.
Christian, I had a question about...
Sorry, you go, Colin.
Oh, sorry, Trina. I had a question about security. I mean, you're talking about massive digital processes and like companies putting a lot of trust in this platform. So can you speak to the cybersecurity measures that you're taking?
Sure. So everything is run on top of AWS. So we don't have our own hardware. Everything is run in what they call virtual private cloud. So a completely separated system that runs in their Frankfurt service center. And everything, of course, is encrypted. So neither the AWS nor even our own people have access to the underlying databases. All the traffic is encrypted. And in order to facilitate communication between the systems, we use open standards, OAuth in particular, so the most modern ones. So the systems have to authenticate each other. And of course, we are running external penetration tests and things like that to ensure that privacy is always there. And on the other hand, privacy was a primary goal during the design phase of the platform. So I myself am not a big fan of Facebook and Instagram. People might see that differently, but I believe that, some data is to share and other data is not. And the data that we are handling here is the printer's data, not our own. I think that is the most important part that we all need to understand, that the machine manufacturers also need to understand that, right? And the printers at the end of the day must decide who they want to share their data with. And that's how we built the platform. You've seen it during the demo. There had been 2 separate screens that basically asks you, okay, if you proceed, we will share this data with this software. Is that okay or not? And of course, the printer can always withdraw this, and then the software, of course, stops working, but the data doesn't leak anymore, right? So you are completely in control with whom you share your data, and you can review that all the time.
No, it's brilliant. And it's so exciting to be part of the beginning of the journey here, and to hear sort of from Ryan how there is a massive need for this, but then to see how you plug that gap. So it's really exciting, and I can't wait to hear. It's a shame we don't get it in March now, being in the UK, but we'll have to wait, won't we, for our turn. But it's very exciting times.
So we are already talking to several paper merchants in the UK and to several MIS vendors, and it looks pretty good. So I believe that we can cross the smaller pond sometime this year and bring this to the UK as well, and to the US then later this year too, because this has been a global approach from the beginning. And as we heard in Ryan's talk, network effects are only useful if the network is big enough. That is also something that we believe in. So we try to grow this network as quickly as possible. And I mean, my goal is, and I hope that I achieved this a little bit today, to give all of you the most boring demo that you have ever seen, right? Just 3 clicks and it works, and you don't have to, there are no buttons, you don't have to do anything. And if this is more boring, it is actually that the more boring it becomes, the better it is, right? Because it means that you don't have to do anything, you can just start working. And that's what we want to achieve. And we don't want to take the humans out of the equation entirely, right? There will always be the phone call. There will always be the special case, and you order 50 tons of paper or something like that and might need to get a discount or something like that. This will still happen. The important part, though, is that information about this special case still needs to go down to the MIS. And all the non-special cases, the 85 or 90% that is your bread and butter business, those need to be automated, right? And then you have, I mean, if you imagine that 80% of your paper purchasing is done automatically, what are you going to do with all that free time? Probably close the shop at 3 in the afternoon or something like that. And we already see that with our test customers, right? They have much more time at their hands, which they use to solve the hard cases that the platform cannot solve at this time.
Fantastic. I think we're pretty much up to the hour. That's how long we've all been chatting. It's all been so interesting. Thank you so much, Christian, for sharing a little bit about what you do, sharing the demo. And I think, certainly one of the things that we saw when we published our vision report is that, the pandemic has been something of a wake-up call for those in the print industry that aren't as connected as they could be. And I think that issue of connectivity is really, really pertinent at the moment, and something that everyone will be thinking about. So it's fantastic to know that this platform is going to be available to help people do that. And thank you so much to the Key Point guys, Colin and Ryan. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you again, Christian, for your time, and Dorinda, of course. Thank you so much for being here and co-hosting this FuturePrint virtual conference session. There's a lot more fantastic content coming up, so make sure to check that out. And thanks again, everybody, and thank you everyone for watching.